Yeah, so you're all going to be a lot richer by the end of the year. So what I was just saying to everyone else is tonight's not about the delivery, it's purely about content. So don't focus on delivery at all, because I haven't worked on that. I want to get the content right. I know I need to trim this a bit, so if there's any parts you feel that I'm just talking too long, I'm elaborating too much, where it can be trimmed, then I think it does need to be trimmed. So I'll start if everyone's ready. So hello ladies and gents, my name is Tony Winyard, I know as a few of you don't know, and welcome to How to 10 Times Your Income, or that title might be changed. For those of you that don't know, I've spent most of my life as a DJ. I've been specialising in weddings for a while now, and over the past few years I found more and more DJs were asking me about how I managed to charge over £2,000 per wedding, which is about 10 times the average fee in my industry, for DJs. And I started speaking on that topic, and it got quite a lot of interest, as you might imagine, to the point that people from completely different industries started asking me to speak about this to them. So I was speaking about this to other wedding industry professionals as well. And I thought that would be more intelligent on my part to speak to non-DJs, because at least a room full of solicitors is unlikely to get their own decks and set up as my competition. And if they did, could I sue them? I don't know. So I'm going to put some ideas out there. I'm not saying I have all the answers. Maybe not all of them will work for each of you personally. But I have found that these ideas have worked for a number of people who have asked for my help. And they were able to raise their fees considerably in some cases. So hopefully there will be something in here that will help you charge more, maybe much more for what it is that you do. I've put together a 5-point plan how anyone in any field can charge 10 times more for what they do. Some of this will even apply to products. But if you sell time or any kind of service, I think you can take something from this. Some of the ideas I'm about to show might seem obvious, but that doesn't mean you're necessarily following all of them to a T. How often do we do all the things that we know we're supposed to do? If we did, we'd all be smart, slim and sexy. Not that I'm trying to infer you're not in that. I want to stress that this process is not a kind of magic. And yes, there will be many music titles dotted around in this conversation. I'm a DJ after all. It's not going to result in turning you into an instant millionaire. But if it does, I'll be at your door for my cut. So for me, it took the best part of 15 to 25 years to get to where I am now. But part of the point of sharing these things with you is to shortcut that process, if we can get it down to 5, 3, even 1 year. Hopefully, that will be a good thing for you. And again, it won't be magic. It will be a simple result of doing certain things differently, as I do. The other point to make is that not everything I set out here is going to be easy. Some things will require discipline and a sense of belief in what you do. For example, once you raise your fees, it's very likely your conversion rate will be lower than at your current fee. It certainly was for me. And it's important that you get comfortable with that. When I refer to conversion rate, that is the number of people you convert from inquiries into actual clients. And to also be able to walk away from prospects that cannot afford your new price, which is really important. If you start taking bookings or business at your old price, you're going to send out a conflicting message, both to potential clients and to your self-belief. You have to be comfortable with more people not booking you and not getting into a panic about that and dropping your prices after a couple of what you perceive as setbacks. A strategy that I've used for over 10 years now is that whenever I find I'm converting more than 60% of people I meet into bookings, in my mind that means my prices are too cheap, and then I raise my prices, and I've always used this yardstick of 60%. This again was the opposite approach of most of my peers. Many DJ companies, I'd meet other DJs and they'd all be boasting about how they convert 100% of people they meet into clients, and they simply couldn't see how much money they were leaving on the table. Now there's nothing wrong with the numbers game. It's a totally valid business model to bang it out cheap. But this obviously involves working with a far higher number of clients at a much lower price, which usually requires working harder also. If you're happy with that model, then this session may not be for you. But there'll be 3 good jokes, so stick around. But you can leave with 90 seconds to go, because there's nothing funny in the last 90 seconds. So mostly it should be said, this is a model for people selling premium-based time, services and products. It's about how to sell those in a way that justifies the absolute highest premium price. But hopefully, all joking aside, there should be something in it for everyone. So before going any further, let's get you thinking along these lines. If I had a gun to your head right now and was forcing you to radically increase your fee, write down how you would achieve that and get other people to pay that new fee. So just take a couple of minutes just to write down how you would go about increasing your fee and how you think you go about getting people to pay that. Anyone come up with any interesting ideas of things they might be able to do?
I suppose for me, it would be sort of improve my website, make sure it was really a high-class website, emphasising the products that I do, showing a lot of pictures, and getting some testimonials.
A few of those things we're going to cover actually. So yes, good idea.
More kind of differentiated content, some unique stuff.
Yeah, and that's some ground we're going to cover as well. So, okay, all great points. As I mentioned, I put together a 5-point plan, which is: point 1 is make a decision about what you're worth. Starting in the beginning is often a good place to start. You need to make a decision about what you're worth. I've made this the first point for 2 reasons. Firstly, because it's the first thing you need to do, but also because it's the most important. There are 4 other things, as we shall see, but although without this, you're not going to do any of the other things, so it's necessary but not sufficient. Okay, let me tell you a little bit more about where I come from. I've been a full-time professional DJ for over 30 years. Plus, I was a DJ for 10 years before turning professional. It's usually at this point that 1 or 2 people give me a confused look and presume I started to DJ in a room. However, I've always looked a lot younger than my actual age, and which is great now, was less than desirable when I was a teenager trying to get served in pubs. So I guess I should divulge that I'm 53 and I was DJing in the 70s. My first paid gig was 30 quid for a Christmas Eve party in a pub in Wembley. Before turning professional, I did all sorts of events that gained the experience, knowledge and skills that enabled me to make money DJing. I did it purely because I was crazy about music and loved getting people to dance to the tunes that I was selecting. But did I care about the client? No, all I cared about was how many people were dancing to the music that I was playing. And you might be thinking that's exactly what the client wants. Well, yes and no, but we'll get into that more later. I increased my fee over a period of time with a few huge increases after certain realisations. The first one was this. After working around the world as an international club DJ for 12 years, I eventually got bored of it and decided to return to the UK. I started DJing weddings, but was very out of touch with market rates back here in the UK. One day I was DJing a wedding in Old Street, central London, and the venue owner was this really tall bloke. And he came over to me and he was chatting with me and he asked me how much I charged. When I told him £250, he visibly took a step back and he looked down at me and said, "Almost every week I have DJs coming here charging double that, you need to raise your prices, mate." In previous months I'd received some similar comments, and so I made the decision to double my price the very next day. It was far from easy, but I did it. It took 10 years for my prices to double again, But it was then only 3 years for them to double once more. Until I was charging £2,000 per wedding for a couple of years ago. Here's the point. What that tall bloke gave me, and I don't even remember his name, even though he had a major effect on my life, is a different sense of my value. Had I become a different DJ overnight? No. But I doubled my prices simply because I felt more valuable. So important but not easy, because here's the thing. Everyone in this room has a sense of their own value. That's quite a profound sense of their own value, so let me explain. The story you may well have heard before, but that's not important. Imagine that you're going for a new job. At the first interview, there were lots of people there, but the interview goes better than you could possibly have imagined. And clearly, the interviewers are really impressed with you, as they should be. You're then invited back for a second interview, which amazingly goes even better. And all indications are they're going to offer you the job. It's evident you're totally qualified for this position. And as the process continues, it just seems to feel like destiny. At the third round of interviews, it's just you and one other person. You look at them, they look smart, they look well dressed, but you're really confident of how this has all been progressing so far. Then, the interviewer asks you to sign a non-disclosure agreement. As you're reading it, you notice the salary has an additional zero than you were expecting. The salary is not £40,000, it's £400,000. How would you feel? A typical reaction is, I'm not the person for that job. Clearly this has got much more responsibility than I'm able to handle. Do you think that you might react this way? I asked you to think about this earlier, but have you done it properly? So make a decision about your worth. Try deciding that you're worth 2, 3, 5, 10 times what you currently charge. It seems simple, but, and this is a real big but, of Sir Mix-a-Lot size proportions. And I know not everyone will be aware of who Sir Mix-a-Lot is. You have to completely commit to it. Totally believe you can achieve the new price that you're going to charge. Not in any kind of woo-woo type of way. You have to have enough belief so that you can position your entire business model on it with total confidence in it. Remember, from now on, you're going to be turning down work that is less than this, your new field. But will you? If you don't believe in it, you're not going to achieve it. Simply because you're not going to do it. And everything that follows here relies on you doing it, on charging that new higher fee. You don't need to make it 10 times immediately, because if you don't have that guy telling you how much better you are than everyone else he's seen, and if you don't believe in it, then it may not have any effect. But are you frustrated? Do you believe that you are worth more than what you are currently paid? A lot of us do. If so, make a decision today that you're going to start charging what you believe you're actually worth. I don't mean to go back to the office tomorrow and start ringing up all your clients and telling them you're charging 10 times more. I don't mean that at all. You need to do this in a safe way. Maybe with a particular product or with a couple of clients or potential clients that you might be meeting. One person that I knew was selling information products. And he was a bright guy and he knew his industry and he knew his market really well. He had a £300 film and a £600 film. Plus, in addition, some of his clients had one-on-one signed with him. One day, his partner said to him, why don't you just have like a Rolls-Royce product, or as well as the others, have a Rolls-Royce product that for £6,000 just gives people unlimited access to everything you do, plus 2 days of your time. And his reaction was, joking, who's going to pay that when people can get what I do now for far less than that? But anyway, long story short, he tried it. He tried it because he didn't have much to lose. And he sold 10 of these new packages. £60,000 worth of business for something that he didn't think would ever work. So why didn't he do so before that? So I know what you might be thinking. Okay, so I charge this new higher fee time, but who the hell is going to pay it? In the DJ world, a phrase I heard repeatedly and still do is, you can't get that around here, mate. DJs in virtually every part of the UK would repeat this as if it was the main tenet of the DJ Bible. But actually, the number one tenet of the DJ Bible is to always say, wave your hands in the air. Frequently I've been told you couldn't charge £300, £400, £600 in areas that I'd done many events at £2,000. Henry Ford was right. The value point here is that demand is greater for things with lower prices, because there are definitely more people with less money to spend. In almost any market, then there are people with more money to spend. That's as true in DJing as it is in whichever market, be it solicitors, doctors, architects, whatever it may be. But here's the key point that misses. That for whatever reason, there are always people who do have more money to spend for the right person, and the key is finding them. So how do you find them? Which moves us to point number 2, finding new clients. So let me share with you something that happened at one meeting I had when I was charging £2,000. I had a client meeting in a rundown block of flats in a council estate. The guy answered the door wearing a high-vis jacket, and it turned out he worked for the council as a driver. I walked in and met his partner and their 4 kids, all under the age of 5, with nappies all over the place. It was a little chaotic in the house, to say the least. They say you should never judge a book by its cover, and I really tried not to. But one part of my brain started thinking, was there any point in delivering this presentation when there was no way they were going to spend £2,000 on a DJ? They were a lovely couple, but all the signals I was receiving were their budget was more likely to be around about £400 or £500. Then we started chatting, and it turned out that when he was 16, he threw a birthday party for his 16th birthday, and he hired a DJ who was quite cheap. And the guy turned out to be absolutely atrocious, and the party was a disaster. 2 years later, for his 18th birthday, he thought he'd try again, and he again arranged a big party, and again he hired a cheap DJ. This guy didn't even turn up. Then they found someone at the last minute who proceeded to play none of the music that he or his family and friends had requested. And everybody hated the party because the DJ just played hardcore techno music all night, and that's not what he and his family and friends are into. Both parties were disasters, and he felt really bad for his family and friends. And he made a mental note that should he ever hire a DJ again, he would look for the best. They booked me, and on the wedding day, it became apparent that I was the most expensive service of their day. The venue was very inexpensive. The meal was a burger buffet, and the photographer was a family friend. He wanted the best. He was prepared to pay for it. I think I'm among the best, but that's not the point. The point here is that all my marketing was attracting the people that specifically wanted the best. He knew I was going to be expensive, and he was fine with that. If you were to look at my website, you will see that while it tries to attract customers, and yes, it tries to convey that I'm good at what I do, but what it doesn't do is try and attract everyone. It's exclusive. I'm a Mercedes-Benz dealership, or one of those Chanel or Louis Vuitton designer shops you see in 705 at Heathrow that I'm actually scared to go into. I'm actively discouraging people who don't have the budget they need to hire me. A wedding celebrant I know in Australia who operates at the very top end of the wedding market and works for a very niche market, revels in being unpopular, as he calls it, and charging much lower fees. And for those of you wondering what a wedding celebrant is, it's someone who actually conducts the ceremony at a non-church wedding. I rarely receive inquiries from the tyre kickers that most other DJs usually get quite often. So clearly my website was doing a good job of turning away people that were looking for cheap DJs. And nearly all my meetings were with people who were specifically looking for the best. And although I never disclosed my fees before a meeting, they were aware this wasn't going to be cheap. Now I know this is scary, and I remember the day I first doubled my prices to £2,000. I could have cracked walnuts in my butt cheeks. They were clenched so tight. Am I going to turn down jobs for £1,000 now, I asked myself. But, and this is another big old but, I learned something really important about the market for DJs and life at that point. 90% of DJs were competing at the bottom end of the market by charging around about sort of £200. And the majority of people getting married are just looking for a cheap DJ. So it was a huge pie, but with a lot of DJs competing for that pie. A little further up in the middle of the market, at the middle end, with DJs charging around £400 to £600, there were far fewer customers willing to pay those amounts, but there were also far fewer DJs competing in this mid-range. Then, there are about 1% of DJs charging above £1,000 for a wedding. And at this range, there were even less DJs, but even less DJs competing. So by ratio, the pie was far bigger for those operating at this level, yet the majority of DJs believed that there weren't any people willing to pay these sorts of prices. That was perfect for me, as it meant I had far more potential customers. This is the same for luxury watches, expensive cars, and many other top-end products and services. The more expensive, the less companies there are competing. Big Mercedes actually actively discourage some people from coming to you. Try it. Maybe with something niche at first, make it safe. Think about this, if you were to double your prices, but your conversion rate reduced to 50%, it would mean that you're now earning the same money you were previously by only servicing half the clients, leaving you far more time to work with your existing clients, far more time to find new clients, and more time to get frustrated on the golf course. It also reduces your work expenses, because in the case of the DJ that doubled his prices, he's now halved the number of events he does, and so he's halved his fuel costs, halved the wear and tear on his equipment, and reduced many other costs like stationery, dry cleaning, less client meetings, and so on. It's easy to use the mindset of, in my case, being offered £1,000 for a wedding on a date I'm not booked, and thinking, I'll take that booking as I'm not working on that day. But the principle has to be, A, you might get another inquiry in a week or two for that same date. B, every hour you spend servicing this £1,000 wedding is not an hour you spend marketing and targeting your new client or your new market. And C, any potential clients you meet at that £1,000 wedding will expect you to charge the same to them. So mentally, you're still being a £1,000 DJ or doctor or whatever it might be. And actually, that's the price bracket people will put you into. I recently heard a good friend say that discounting is cheating. When you discount, you cheat 1, yourself, 2, your family, and 3, the next client who pays your full price. So now you're at your new fee. You've got more free time to start attracting those new clients who have the money for pricier options. So what are you going to do about it? So one method I used for finding clients was to visit bridal forums where brides-to-be were discussing different aspects of weddings and the planning process, which involved conversations on everything from the favours to honeymoons. You've probably heard about this before, blogging, forums, networking, etc. But it works. Having performed at over 2,000 weddings, I had immense experience, and I'd often help out on these forums, where brides were posting questions and subjects I was very knowledgeable in, such as entertainment related, music for the ceremony, the speeches, and so on. I never would try to sell my services, but would simply help out, and thus became known as an expert in weddings, and someone to turn to for unbiased advice and help. This would also naturally lead to some of these brides asking me more about what it is that I did, and then some of them recommending me or referring me to others. Is there an equivalent forum that you can share your knowledge in and help out potential customers? Maybe on some of the millions of Facebook and LinkedIn groups. It's really important now that you do not keep talking about your services unless asked, because you want to be seen as someone they can trust and not a shark looking for new victims. Okay, so we've made a decision, we're going to charge more. Because if we don't charge more, we're never going to receive more, because people are not going to volunteer to pay more than we charge them. Then we're going to find the fewer people out there who are willing to pay these higher prices. For whatever reason, maybe just because they have more money, don't underestimate that as a very simple motivation, or maybe because they are looking for the best. But how are we going to convert these people into clients once we've done these first two stages? And the answer to this is that there's a process. And I'm going to detail that process in a moment. But with another of Sir Mix-a-Lot's big old buts, it depends on one simple foundation, and that is understanding what you're really selling. And this is point 3. I'm sure some of you have heard this before, but it's worth revisiting some of these ideas if you have, and certainly worth thinking about this properly if you haven't heard this before. Understand that people who buy you as a solicitor or whatever it is that you do, they need a solicitor, sure, but that's not what they ultimately want. What they want is to get off the fine or out of prison or whatever. People who buy double glazing may need double glazing, but what they really want is an increase of their house price, or maybe a warmer home, or reduced heating bills. You've heard these before, but Rolex aren't selling watches, they're selling luxury. What do you think McDonald's is selling? Burgers? Fast food? They're actually selling money-making machines to the people that buy the franchises. It's important when marketing anything that we understand, as people passionate about what we do, that our customers simply aren't passionate about what we do. Everything that we think is important to us, because it's what makes us good at what we do, is only important to them because it fulfills an emotional or practical need that they have for more money or status or happiness or whatever. A hairdresser I knew had incredibly high demand for his services. He was the highest paid stylist in his salon, yet he wasn't actually a great hairdresser. He was good, but not one of the best by any means. But what he excelled at was talking with his clients, many of whom were 60 and 70-year-old ladies. And what many of these ladies really wanted was a good conversation with somebody that listened to them, particularly the older they were, as he became the source of their company. They were booking him on a regular basis to do hair that didn't really need to be done so frequently, because he just went in and talked to them for a few hours while he was colouring it, etc. For most of my life, as I mentioned before, I've been a professional DJ, 15 years as a club DJ, and 12 of those travelling around the world, and now for the last sort of 15, 16 years, I've been specialising in weddings. And I understood quite early on that I wasn't selling my skills on the decks or my musical repertoire, as important as that was. And I also wasn't selling my sound system or my lighting, which, by the way, was always very simple, things that most DJs spend so much money on. I realised that what I was selling was a great day and night for everyone there. Specifically, because there will be other elements at a wedding which will contribute to a great event that go beyond my personal circle of control. A great atmosphere in a room and on a dance floor. That means an atmosphere with engaged, buzzing, happy people, as many people as possible swept up in a shared experience of celebrating the happy couple's unique day. How many of you have been to a wedding where there are just a few people dancing and no one is really sharing a moment together? Understanding what people were really buying when they bought a DJ for their wedding took me a long way to, and enabled me to charge at a relatively high fee for what I did, to a point. Much higher than a usual market rate, certainly, but not as much as I charge now, because now I figured out that when they hire me as a DJ, and now I can, because now I figured out what people are really buying from me when they hire me as a DJ, and now I can charge much, much more as a result. So let me explain. Have you heard of the word bridezilla? On DJ forums, I constantly saw DJs complaining about brides and how they were being bridezillas and acting irrationally. And it confused me for a while, as I never encountered this fictional character. But it's understandable, I guess, why the wedding planning process can overwhelm people. There's a lot to organise for a wedding, having to find, compare, book and liaise with many different vendors such as the venue, the photographer, entertainment, the florist and so on. Unless they have experience as a project manager, it's very easy for this monumental planning process to get on top of it. Especially when numerous suppliers aren't responding to messages, are being rigid in their responses and moving goalposts, and it can all get quite stressful. DJs constantly complain that they were being given huge playlists and very often being told to stick exactly to these playlists by the brides they were working with. But I never experienced any of this, and for a while I wondered why it was, until I figured out the answer to that, and in turn the secret to what I was really selling, which if I focused on it, I could place front and centre in my whole sales process and charge much, much more for what I do. What I was selling was peace of mind. My friend in that block of flats, he wasn't spending more money on me than anything else in his wedding because he liked me. He was spending more money because he'd had bad experiences in the past, and he believed in me. He trusted me to deliver on his expectations. This time, without fail, I managed to convince him of that. No wonder brides are stressed, all that pressure, buying something they've not yet had the chance to see, no guarantees, an enormous consequence of error. How many of you sell something that requires your client to believe in you? Legal services, double glazing, hairdressing, second-hand cars, websites, plumbing, financial advice, dental treatment, childcare, elderly care, business coach, tailor, personal trainer. Of course, you're good at what you do, but you know that. They don't necessarily. So to summarise point 3, we need to understand what we're really selling to our clients. And in the vast majority of cases, it's not going to be a million miles from what it is that I'm selling. And that is whenever the client can't see and point to a tangible product that they want, it's going to be confidence in you and peace of mind that you'll deliver what you say you're going to deliver. So now, everything in your process needs to be focused on convincing the client that you're going to deliver exactly what you say. Because if they agree that that thing is worth a lot of money, and they do totally believe that you'll deliver, you're going to land that client. And this is how I do that. So point 4 is the sales process, and this is the sales process that I use.
Well, this introduces the presentation, and then of course we go into this one, and then this one, and this one, and this one, and this one, and this one.
I will have to change that one. My sales presentation is long. Don't worry, I'm going to break it down. Not everyone will have time to sit through it. It might be that yours is 20 minutes, 1 minute or 3 hours, obviously depending on the context in which you meet your customers and the time they've available and obviously the economics of your product. Will a long presentation work for every business or industry? No, of course not. I'm delivering a service that brings enjoyment to people on one of the happiest days of their lives, when it's done right. It's really long precisely to communicate this sense of thoroughness. And because, as I've already made clear, I'm metaphorically cuddling my client. Starting at this very early stage. When you increase your fee, people want to be metaphorically cuddled. They want intimacy and assurance and attention. When you increase your fee by 10 times, you do put more time into it, but nothing like 10 times as much. Maybe 3 times as much. You're still getting way, way more per day, per hour, per bouquet, per contract, whatever it might be. But I acknowledge that not everyone will want to sit through a presentation on plumbing, gardening or colonoscopies. Although I think you might be surprised. If it's set up right and the information being communicated is valuable enough. I think some people would be willing to partake in much longer sales processes than they do at the moment. But the problem is that most sales presentations are just bad in either conception or execution. Have you ever had someone deliver a presentation which was very half-hearted, or worse, was mind-numbingly boring? It was clear they didn't really believe in their presentation at all, and if and the product they were selling they didn't believe in. And if their sales manager saw the presentations they were delivering, they'd have been livid. To deliver an effective presentation, you have to firstly genuinely believe in the product. And secondly, deliver it with passion and emotion to help the client visualize whatever it is that you're selling. And I received this testimonial from some clients I did a wedding for last year. After meeting Tony, we both wanted to go dancing straight away. Tony made us so excited about the wedding and had so many ideas that helped turn our wedding from just another wedding into an event to be proud of. Tony lived up to our expectations. Now, if you're able to help your clients visualize what you will do for them, then you can excite them and make them not just want to book you, but make them excited to book you. I now want to explain two different but related aspects of my presentation, which are, number one, the components it actually communicates, i.e. what I will actually do and how they justify charging such a high price. And number two, the way in which the sales presentation communicates those components to my potential client in a way which truly convinces them that I will deliver. And by the way, if you think I'm skinny now, that's a photo of when I was really skinny and orange. Now let me rephrase this. A good sales presentation first needs to be communicating a great business. But it also needs to be doing this in a way which convinces the client, customer, that you're definitely going to deliver on all those attractive promises that you've made. Let's look at the first part of that, communicating a great business. From minute one of my sales process, I am focused on showing that I have enormous experience of this process and have thought about it from a risk management perspective, but also just the sheer number of ideas that I have is almost overwhelming. Showing that there's no part of this process that I haven't thought about. So if a bride was concerned how the wedding was coming together, she wouldn't have to worry about my part of it. And what my presentation shows her is that I thought longer and harder than any of the other suppliers she'll encounter. Again, all of this is convincing them that they're totally in safe hands. In your industry, what would be really memorable, that would cost minimal money but that your clients would remember? What would give them total peace of mind? What potential pitfalls have you thought about that no one else has? What is it about what you do that is fun or quirky or unique or thoughtful and caring? Here are a couple of things that I show my potential clients. I have an online event planner account showing them that none of the small details are overlooked. This allows them to look through my music database and create their own playlists of what they do and the music they don't want as well. I do special wedding party introductions. The bridesmaids, the ushers, the best man, I introduce them all into the room individually or in pairs at the start of the wedding breakfast. And this is all done in a fun way that lets everyone there know who these people are and creates laughter and energy. I do games such as the Mr. and Mrs. game, where we discover how well the couple really know each other, and it really gets the family and friends involved, and again, induces a lot of laughter. I do something called the love story. It's a special story about the couple that is a mixture of humorous and sentimental moments from their relationship that many of their guests, even including the parents and siblings, weren't aware of. I could go on because I'm genuinely passionate about this. But sadly, none of you, to the best of my knowledge, are in the market for a wedding DJ. But if you are, I'm over here. Now, I have dozens of examples of this kind of thing, all of which I list in order to show this couple that I am going to add so much value to their happy day. To show that I have thought about this much harder than anyone else in my field. Can you demonstrate that kind of dedication and passion to your clients? It's not as difficult as you may think, because I bet even if you don't do some of these little things, I bet you have thought about some of these things and some things that you could do. But do them and start to brag about them. You'll be amazed at how much value they can add to your services. But submit a lot of time again. It's another big but. All of these ideas, all of them mean nothing if your presentation as a whole doesn't convince your prospect beyond any shadow of a doubt that you're 100% going to deliver on everything that you promised. A lot of this is Sales 101, granted. And I'm going to reference here some of the great communication teachers of the modern era, from Dale Carnegie to Robert Cialdini. But again, so much of life is not about knowing, it's about doing. So here's what I actually do. Number one, the first thing I do, and the most important thing, is nothing. Well, not quite nothing, but it looks like nothing from the outside, because I listen. Most people do not listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply. They're either speaking or preparing to speak. Listening actively, including reflecting back exactly what they just said. Repetition that implies understanding. This is a really important point, because when you can reflect back exactly what they've just told you, people will come on board quicker and more fully with you, and shows them that you totally get them and understand what it is that they want. And they then are more likely to think that you are the person to solve their issue and that they need to book you. I always have at least a 15-minute chat before I start the presentation, in order to start to get to know them, during which I'll be asking them all sorts of questions, such as about other weddings they'd attended, what they liked and disliked about those weddings, how long had they been together, asking about the engagement, how did he manage to keep it a secret, was the other partner surprised or not, asking about their music tastes and about their friends and family. But essentially, I know you've heard this many times before, but you must let your prospective client do the talking. The second thing I'm going to do to convince someone that I am going to deliver is kind of what I've already said in part one, really, and that is to be thorough. I demonstrate through the sheer number of ideas that I have thought about this longer and harder than anyone else, and that might be relevant to what you do or it might not. In general, people need to know that you're good at what you do, and sometimes just showing them your expertise is enough. If they were hiring you as a comedian, then you'd show them your act. If you're a tailor, you'd show them previous designs. Whatever you need to do to give people confidence that you're good at what you do. Now, during this section, I'm going to give examples that compare me to other people who do the same thing. This slide about me acting as their master of ceremonies, for example, I would sometimes state something along the lines of, and if I don't do this properly, you will definitely notice. I would never criticise or badmouth competitors because you put yourself down as well as them. Instead, I'd subtly point out what can go wrong when someone without my sort of level of expertise or confidence does this. This creates the consequence of not choosing someone who will do this properly, and they want to buy someone that has technical expertise. The presentation opens with this slide, which is all about creating a sense of confidence that I can do it, it will all be fine, without any sense of arrogance. It's about using technical details and examples to reinforce expertise and convince the prospect that you're the person for them. Again, I'm doing it in a way that shows that I understand what a wedding is really about. It's not really about the music, it's about the atmosphere, it's about the moment. I've used the phrase peace of mind numerous times now, and that is because if you were to sum my whole talk up, that is what it is all about. I cannot emphasise enough the importance of that, because once you reach the stage where your prospective client has complete peace of mind that you can do what they want, they're no longer a prospective client, but an actual client. Even though you're a far higher price point than others they've looked at. Because fear is often the key to holding clients back from committing. And what's the opposite of fear? It's peace of mind. This is the opening slide in my presentation, as I showed you before, and it achieves different things, and it really hits home with them. That soon, they'll be husband and wife. And using the names this way is kind of like a double glazing salesman, showing the prospective client what their house would look like with double glazing, maybe with some Photoshop, or a solicitor showing them a photo of the title deeds of their dream house that they're looking for. And as you can see, it has the prospective client's names on it. It involves a little work, but it's also about making someone feel good. And feeling good is one of Robert Cialdini's principles in his book, Influence. The bride-to-be very often holds her husband-to-be hand at this point, many times in the presentation, and said something along the lines of, wow, I've never seen my name before as the new whatever it is. Client testimonials have always been important, but in this age of social media, they're even more so. They're a great way to convince clients that I'll definitely deliver. And to a certain extent, this is just common sense. If I've done a great job in the past, well then there's a good chance I'll do a good job for them in the future too. That's just logic. And this plays on something that Robert Cialdini in this book calls social proof. The idea that people are more inclined to buy from you simply because others have. To a certain extent, we all understand this. I bet no one in here selling something doesn't use past client testimonials somewhere, even if it's just on your LinkedIn testimonials page. But are you using them to the extent that you could be? Do you simply have them on a page on your website? Google Analytics stats show that for many websites, users don't even look at the testimonial page. The presentation that I showed you, I would then send that to the couple as a PDF. But in between many of the slides, I added in some of my testimonials, making it more likely that they'd be seen. And the testimonial would usually mention something to do with the following or the previous slide, such as a bride saying how hugely helpful my services as an MC had been to her in her wedding planning, where I'm just about to talk about myself as an MC. Additionally, I have quite a few video testimonials on my website, and from couples that I've worked with before, and these are even more powerful than a written testimonial as they truly convey emotion and meaning. I take feedback and the promotion of that feedback incredibly seriously. I show clients my scores according to the independently assessed Wedding DJ of the Year scores. As you can see from the table here, the average scores say A, that I'm good, B, consistent, and C, always improving as the years have progressed. Now, point 5 is all about over-delivering. This is about testimonials, and this is absolutely vital for so many reasons. It's strange it hasn't come up. Yes, you need to believe you're worth more than you're currently charging, and yes, you need to charge it. Yes, you need to accept that some people won't pay it. And yes, you need a kick-ass sales presentation, but most of all, you need great testimonials. Strange, okay. If prospective clients believe that other people have paid these prices and been ecstatic, then they'll be more willing to pay such prices for that chance to be that satisfied. And if they don't, they won't. It's that simple. So we're going for ecstasy here, or maybe that's not the right image. That might be better. What we want is clients not simply stating that they were happy with what they hired you for, but that they were ecstatic about everything that you did. So how do we achieve that? Well, there is a secret. Last week, I went to a great restaurant. It was really good. The starter was tasty, the main course was delicious. The staff were friendly and polite. I honestly cannot think of anything major that I would criticise, and yet I wasn't ecstatic. Why not? Because my friend had told me that it was going to be exceptional. So that was what I went in there expecting, and it wasn't exceptional, it let me down. How many times has someone recommended you see a 5-star film that was just kind of meh? Or even if there was nothing actually wrong with it. Maybe for you it was Titanic or one of the Star Wars films or any number of films that got the number 2 after it. Likewise with holiday destinations or the builder that your friend recommended. Studies show that people's overall impressions of something are as guided by how well the experience matches their expectations of it as they are by the objective quality of the thing itself. Think about it, we are always happy when we receive more than we expected. When we feel we've got more than we actually paid for, this makes most people very satisfied. To the point where they sing the praises of that product or service. I always used to wonder why Stelios used to let the TV cameras film EasyJet, not letting people onto planes, losing their baggage every day. And then I realised, because if you get an EasyJet flight, and they let you on after seeing that programme, you feel like you've won. And if your bag gets there too, 5-star service. At my weddings, if at the end of the night, once all the lights had come on, and the couple came over to me, if they simply came over to me and shook my hand to say thank you, I'm devastated. Thankfully, most of the time they would come over with massive smiles on their faces and give me a big hug and thank me profusely for an amazing day. Going beyond the call, leaving people with a sense afterwards that it was even better than they thought it was going to be. And after your sales presentation, they already thought it was going to be great, is essential. This doesn't help your initial sale because by definition they have no idea you're going to do these things, but it helps your feedback scores and word of mouth, and it will lead to excellent feedback, which is essential within this community of people and companies who can afford you in the first place. And it's really important for the testimonial referral process to succeed. Here are a few of the ways I over-deliver to my already expectant clients. One, I make a recording of the wedding ceremony and all of the speeches, and they have no idea that I'm doing this. And then I send this to them as a gift a few weeks after the wedding. Another way I'd over-deliver was during the wedding breakfast. I chat with many of the family and friends, and I'd record them saying some short messages about the bride and the groom. I then, during the wedding breakfast, I'd edit these over the last song of the night, and then when I play that last song, the bride and groom would hear these messages from their family and friends, which always, lots of tears, but it always went down really well. Another way I do it is I give out glow sticks to the people on the dance floor. I don't know what it is, but people love glow sticks, especially kids. And such a simple and cheap item can create incredible goodwill. I bring a photographer along with me to take shots in the evening because at most weddings, the main photographer leaves after the first dance. But between the first dance and the end of the night, there's so much fun happening, but there's no one taking pictures of it. So my photographer would just go around taking lots of pictures. And then 2 days after the wedding, I'd send the pictures to the bride and groom. And I'd also post them on my Facebook page. And then their friends and family would come to my Facebook page and put comments and share them and so on, which obviously is great for my social media presence as well. I put these photos into a special slideshow, timed to music, and send it to them after they return from the honeymoon, and it would look something like this. All of the extras that I just mentioned, they'd have no idea about, and all of them came as a surprise to them. These, plus other things that I would do as well. And it would help give them an even better experience, but would also result in even better testimonials from them than they were already planning to give them. How could you over-deliver in your industry? What information could you provide to clients that would make things easier for them? And provide the clarity that most people in your industry do not provide. Are you part of a trade body association or something else that honours the best in your industry? And if not, are you able to become part of something like that? If that isn't possible, then at least ask clients for reviews on Google and sites such as Trustpilot, TripAdvisor, etc. It's a massive part of the whole process. So that's 5 secrets of success that I honestly believe will enable you to charge multiple times what you currently do for whatever it is that you do. 1, making a decision. 2 is finding new clients. 3, understanding what you're really selling. 4, creating a great sales presentation. And 5, over-delivering. This will get you a great deal of the way to charging higher prices and making bigger profits, but they're not the end of the process. I've got a friend who has this beef with physical health magazines, which is funny because he complains that the tips to help you get rock hard abs are always some variation of eat fewer calories and do 500 sit-ups. I know I can get rock hard abs if I eat less chocolate and go to the gym, he complains. I want to know how to get rock hard abs without doing all of that. I kind of understand it. In this presentation, I've tried to give you a few interesting shortcuts to charge you more money without actually being better. or even the best at what you do, without doing 500 sit-ups every day. But time for another big old but. Here's the boring truth. There's no real substitute for being the best at what you do. If more information were the answer, we'd all be billionaires with perfect apps. In addition to that, I bet money that you've heard much of this before. You know this stuff, but one day you hear a piece of information or a suggestion, and for some reason, even though you've heard it before, maybe this time it was said from a different perspective somehow. Maybe this time it connected visually or auditory or whatever in some way. Sometimes you need to hear things a number of times before it really sinks in and you start taking action. And I hope that's the case for you today. I would do a Q&A session at this point, but has anyone got any questions? No, okay, we'll just go on, that would be in the actual, when I do this. We'll just get to that, I'm nearly finished now. So, here, number 6 in a 5-step process is being the best at what you do. Because if I'm honest about the secrets behind my journey to charging 10 times the rest of the people in my industry, winning UK Wedding DJ of the Year was a part of that process. Being recognised for being among the very best in my field. I can't help you with this. I can't prepare a 5-hour presentation for your sector on how to become the best florist or the best solicitor. I can't do that because I'm not a solicitor or a florist, obviously. I'll leave you with a couple of insights into the way that I think I became one of the best wedding DJs. I did it for 30 years, you can't shortcut that. There's no replacement for experience. You have to study, practice, repeat. You have to take meticulous feedback from your clients with the depressing but specific intention, not of massaging your ego, but finding out how every little detail can be improved. I always ask every couple to fill out an evaluation form on a service that I deliver to them. But whereas most DJs would ask the same range of questions, which essentially was to guide the clients into stating how great they were, the questions that I asked were very different. So for example, I would ask questions such as, was the volume too loud at any point? Was I responsive to your emails and communication in the time that you expected? What else could I have done to deliver a better service to you, even if it's something really small? In addition to the things I listed just now, I'd send them a chic Christmas card in the festive season. I'd keep in touch with cards on their 1st, 2nd, 5th and 10th wedding anniversaries. The gains on these are pretty small, but that's what marginal gains mean. Why not do some A/B testing on additional things and use your detailed feedback to find out how to continuously improve what it is that you do? A/B testing is where, for example, you create 2 different designs of an advert that you want to put out, and then you try them both and see which gets the best response. If I had to give you one final tip about being the best, however, it would be this. Go beyond the normally accepted boundaries of what it is that you do. For me, as a DJ, this meant doing courses and workshops in improv, in comedy, in acting, business, master of ceremonies, social media, public speaking, etc. I was occasionally ridiculed on DJ forums by some for so often attending conferences and workshops and training courses, and the criticism usually boiled down to 2 points. One was that I obviously wasn't a good DJ in the first place if I required so much additional training. And 2, what on earth has acting or comedy or improv got to do with DJing? And that I was wasting my time and money, and they weren't able to see how anything that wasn't directly DJ related could be beneficial in any way. But there are so many skills, concepts and strategies that you can apply from completely different industries, even those that have seemingly nothing in common whatsoever, such as maybe applying concepts from a wedding DJ to what you do. Often there are many things that you do that can be improved slightly, even if it's just 1%, and these small changes add up to a much better overall experience for your customers. Don't think this necessarily means major improvements in everything that you do. Often it can just be a matter of doing the minor and even mundane things that you know you should be doing, but you let slip. Many people forget to do the basic things that they know they should be doing. and yet so often it's consistently doing all the basics that makes a profound difference. Taken together, these things will keep you sharp and get you to the top of the tree, and able to charge the premium prices which you might not be charging right now. But they are totally attainable, I promise you. It's just a decision, and that obviously is completely down to you. Thank you.